Hey gearheads, and welcome to Garage Talk, a discussion about all things automotive. I'm Cory.
And I'm Matt, and each week this podcast will serve as a catalyst for discussion on all sorts of topics that grind our gears, or not, rev our engines, and just need a little bit more conversation.
Yeah, that intro doesn't exactly fit with all the rigs we talk about this week.
Boy, no
does
kidding.
it? Grinding gears, revving engines.
A lot of revving, no gears.
Yeah.
They're missing.
Yeah, well, anyway, this week's episode is a very special one in our continuing coverage of a big event for us here at GT Garage Talk, and that is the Texas Auto Riders spring event, the Texas Auto Roundup at Texas Motor Speedway. How many times can I throw in? We're from Texas.
One more.
Texas.
There you go.
And it was a blast of an event that got us a lot of wheel time with a bunch of different rigs that had no business being grouped together. And I'd say that is the most fun part of events like this.
Yeah.
Because you can go straight from an all-electric ID4 from VW.
Where's that sad trombone noise?
Straight into 797 horsepower Hellcat red-eye Charger wide body and lay some rubber down on the road, either accidentally or on purpose. I'm still trying to figure that one out. I've got the video proof, but
he told me to.
Yeah, he told me.
That's all I'm saying.
He told you to. Sure. So, yeah. This week, we are very, very proud and excited to have our good buddies from across the state. Not even really across the state. They're just, 2 hours west of us. But the guys from Brake Check Show to talk about some of their impressions and different rigs that they drove, and really just to poke fun at one another as
and CVTs.
Yes, and a little bit of EVs as we talk about and recap this experience that we all got to be a part of.
Listen, you keep bringing up EVs, I'm going to keep making fun of them, okay?
Sounds like a plan. The yin and the yang. So we've got on our podcast this week Brian and Craig from Brake Check Show, and we're just very excited to have them on.
All right, so I want to kick us off. I wore my Hellcat hat. I wore the only other piece of Dodge, anything that I own at the moment. I do plan on rectifying that. I want to say, as a previous non-believer in Hellcat, all the things, I am converted.
Thank goodness.
Well, I think I boiled it down to this. If you're bored of Hellcats, it's because you've never driven one. It was incredible. Absolutely incredible.
I just want to say, I told you so. I'm loving just being on this side of vindication of... I just puffed my chest out just a little bit more. That I told you so.
I even got my Dodge Cup.
Yeah. Look at
that.
Wow.
Gosh, you're literally drinking the Kool-Aid. That's where you're at.
That's it.
I do want to say that, yes, Cory, you're on the right side of being right on this one. And also, this is a lesson to all of us that sometimes when everyone talks about it being so great, it might be great.
Yeah.
So...
There is a reason the reputation is there. There's a reason why a company as large as now Stellantis is sinking so much money into this platform and putting it essentially in all the vehicles of a single brand.
Yeah, one of the things we talked about that day was, and that's really neat, is first off, they had the cojones to do it. Thank you, Dodge, right?
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
But secondly, the amazing thing to me, because I don't know about y'all, but we experienced this with the Shelby GT350 a little bit. We get nervous about some of these engines that have so much horsepower and that are a little different, but they seem to have figured this one out. It just works, and it actually seems to be fairly reliable for what it is, considering that's the most unbelievable part to me.
Yeah, so our first lap around the track at the Texas Auto Riders 2021 Auto Roundup was with Moses Smith of Moses Smith Racing in the Hellcat Red Eye Charger, so 797 horsepower. And, he was going through, he's not employed by Dodge. He was there on their behalf, but he was talking about just how easy they made his job at instructing us on going around the track, because it wasn't just throw 800 horsepower at it and let her rip. Like there was way more to it than that. And it was evident if you tracked it, it was evident if you were, even if you took it out on the road, because we noted just how civilized it was until you dipped in the throttle just a little bit and you heard that rumble and that banshee scream from under the hood, and you knew that you were in something special at that point.
Yeah, it's definitely something special. And, I started out, first thing I said to Craig, what do you want to do first? And we kind of looked at each other and I said, look, let's get on the track. Let's get our blood flowing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because we walked in with an agenda to film, the whirl. And it's like, okay, at some point, let's enjoy this a little bit too. Let's get it out of the way. And so I started out in that exact Hellcat you're talking about. And let me tell you, cold brakes and cold tires gave me a slightly different impression than it was just that moment. It was a ton of fun. I'm used to loosey cars like that, and it was such a blast. And like you said, that Banshee wail, just whatever panel gap problem you may have had with FCA in the past,
Right.
It just didn't matter,
Nope.
right? Like you just go, yeah, but 800 horsepower, right? And
The ultimate trump
nothing
card.
matters anymore.
Yeah, you needed nothing else. So Matt actually had a solution for the Colt tires thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of those right up.
He lit them all up right off the bat, and we're still not entirely sure if that's how it was supposed to go, because when it came to my turn to lap it, Moses was quick to point out that it had launch control and all these very nifty electronic nannies to keep you from completely filling the cabin and surrounding area with tire smoke. So thank you for ruining my fun, Matt. But
You're
it was
absolutely.
it was fun to capture.
Well, Matt, don't feel too bad, because I had the exact same problem in one of the Lexus vehicles. So what's funny is Brian and I get home from the Auto Rider Roundup, and we're telling our wives, what was your favorite car? What'd you have fun in? And we both admitted to, we lit up tires in 2 Lexuses. So as crazy as that may sound with the Hellcats there, but so I get the RCF Fuji Speedway edition.
Fuji!
And I get in there with I can't remember the guy's name now. Brian will remember for me.
Chad
That's
from
it.
Lexus University or Lexus College. I can't remember which one it is.
Pretty good job. So I get in there and he's telling me exactly how to do launch control. It's super simple. There's a button here that actually says launch control. You just hit the button, push the pedal all the way down with your left foot, push the pedal all the way down with your right foot, and just let go of the brake when you're ready. Okay, cool. But he didn't. Or he probably did. I just didn't hear it. I was just too excited. You got to really mash down that brake pedal.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing I know, I'm about halfway into a really, really good burnout.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just going to own it. I'm just going to roll it out a little bit further and then just go.
Absolutely.
And it was a blast. And of course, Chad was really good about it. He's like, well, that's not exactly how you would have done it. But yeah, it's okay. It was fun. So
I want to add to this bit of the story, because I have a different perspective to what happened right there. I was in queue behind you. I was in the Supra, and I had Greg from Toyota riding with me, shotgun. And he had just told everyone that morning, drive it like it's yours, enjoy yourself, get on track. And I look up and I see a Fuji wing. All I can see is, because there's a K-rail between us, is a Fuji wing and a plume of smoke. And I was like, man, that sure looks like a Hellcat, but it definitely sounds like a Lexus. And I looked over at Greg, and Greg just blatantly ignored it as if it did not happen. And I muttered something like, well, I guess drive it like it's yours. And he goes like, he must not pay for his tires.
It's all a matter of perspective.
God bless him for being a good sport.
Yes.
That's
It was
awesome.
a lot of fun. Okay, so I don't want to be the negative Nancy in the room, but I will say, as fun as the Hellcat was,
Mm-hmm.
out of the three they had there, the Hellcat, the Challenger Scat Pack, and the Durango Hellcat,
Mm-hmm.
to me, the Scat Pack was my favorite, other than the name, because it shouldn't be. That's really weird. The feces. That's
It's kind of a poopy name. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah. Other than that, if you can believe this is in the same sentence, that is the Miata of the group.
Agreed.
The Challenger
Totally.
is the Miata of the group.
Yeah.
Because it made usable power. The Hellcat was so fun and raucous and just crazy, like a bar fight. So
It's a bar brawl. Yeah, it's a ton of fun.
You barely breathe on the pedal, and it's just
It's like a gut
and
punch.
But the Challenger, you could put the pedal down and it just went, and it had the brakes and the handling to go along with it. So I don't know. I had a little more fun with that, and I like the idea of getting that in a manual.
Yeah.
So that's
Save
pretty
the
intriguing
manuals.
to me. I like.
Save the manuals.
There you go.
See, there you go. Yeah.
Hey, where can you get that shirt at?
GTGarageTalk.com. Hook you right
There you
up on that
go.
one. So,
on your point, Craig, I'll agree, because the Hellcat is what I want Friday and Saturday night, and I wanted to come with about a cement or a semi truck full of tires.
Yeah.
And if that was a package deal, I'd be all about it. But to actually spend money on and buy and actually drive every day, Scat Pack, silly name, great car, really hit the sweet spot for me. And honestly, out of all the cars I drove that morning, now it might be because this one was warmed up, all the others that were cold I drove, it seemed to be more balanced than any of them. Keep in mind the Lexus Fuji Track Edition was phenomenal as well, but it was stone cold and the tires just weren't awake yet. So it's not a fair assessment, but I was really impressed with it in that environment, and really think the manual aspect is appealing too. Now, it's hard to turn down a Hellcat. I'm not saying don't get Hellcats, but
Right,
the Scat Pack was really impressive, more than I thought it would be, is what I'm saying.
So I've listened to as many episodes of your podcast as I can with my crazy multiple jobs, multiple hats that I wear in my life. But one thing that
You're a glutton for punishment.
one thing that y'all do that I really like is y'all talk about after y'all get a rig, how often you're online checking that one out and configuring it for yourself. And I kid you not, I've gotten at least 2 different screenshots from Matt about that Scat Pack. He's dreaming pretty big there.
I will say, so we drove the Hellcat Red Eye Charger, we drove the Durango, we drove the Supra, the Fuji, the IS 350, all on the track. And my favorite for the entire weekend, and I'm a unbiased journalist, I'm not supposed to say this, but my favorite car, the car I would have taken home that weekend, was the 392 wide body Scat Pack.
Interesting.
Of all those vehicles, the Supra was incredible. It didn't matter how fast you put it in the corner, it stuck. It just like the front was glued to the ground. It would not push the nose at all. But there was something distinctly special about that 392 that
was like the buzzword of the entire time we were driving that car around. Was everything was just special about it, down to the gauges, special retro flair to the gauges. Even the blinker noise in the cabin was different than the other 2 Dodge products that were there. It had a more retro, nostalgic click to it. It was special. It was different. It was not just your average car, in the sense that it wasn't just a 800 horsepower engine stuffed under the hood.
I think you're completely right on that, and it's funny. I want to talk about the Super real quick too, because I took that out, and it's funny that you had it sticking like glue. I had a little bit of push, and again, cold tires. And I went out in the Scat Pack and I had a fair amount of oversteer, which was hysterical. And I want to comment on FCA, Mopar, Stellantis, pick your name at the time. There's 2 things they just choose not to do. And one of them is put mufflers on anything with a Hemi.
And we're perfectly fine with
which
that.
I love. That's a plus, by the way. That's a plus. Which is how we can afford them, right? They're saving all that money on mufflers. And then 2, their stability control and traction control is kind of there, kind of not, which is a great thing. I love it. It's the only car we took on track with stability on. It was, the Hellcat excluded. The Hellcat just overpowers stability control.
Yeah.
But the Scat Pack was a balanced car that you could actually walk it out, and it didn't completely shut you down. Whereas some of the other products would, before you even got 3 degrees of yaw, it was locking it down, cutting power. So, again, really enjoyable. Matt, get one. That's all I can say. Or maybe we can split one. Maybe we can split it between everyone.
Right.
Here. Everyone takes a week. I'm down with it.
I'm down for that, most definitely.
Okay, so that's a great thing there, Matt. What you've been searching, Cory, Brian. What are the cars you've been searching since you've left? Because that's the true test.
Brian,
Cory, go. I got to hear this.
Okay, so I've been asked multiple times what is your favorite car that you drove? Because I think we had somewhere around 18 on our tally, which, given that many and the amount of time that we had, we didn't really get to spend a lot of time with any of them. So more surface level impressions, speed dating kind of thing. And it's a difficult question to ask because there was such a wide breadth of vehicles there. Because the vehicle that I would want to drive home, and I'm purely talking about the 2-hour drive home and not, drive home to keep or drive home to, hoon around at home with, was the Genesis GV80. I absolutely loved that vehicle, and I was cruising around with the sounds of nature, listening to the ocean waves, preparing myself for Mexico. I had the massage seat going. It was just a lovely.
I told you that massage seat, Brian. I told you.
Hang on. I got to ask you guys a question. Did you find the massage seat on the passenger side?
I did not. Because
I don't either, because there isn't one.
Yeah.
But you're driving. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you don't need that.
Totally.
So,
well, now I know how Tiger crashed. He was playing with his seat, I guess. But
well, and it had pelvic massaging. It was really. I was a little scared to go home and tell my wife about it. So.
Right?
I think you apologized to your wife on film for when the review comes out. You said, sorry about the pelvic massage joke.
Well, in fact, you got on to me because you said we cannot put that in the video, so quit talking about it.
So
I'll sneak it
hopefully
in
it'll
now,
make
but
the podcast.
yes, please do. So that was like my, if I had to have something every day, but when it comes to just all out craziness, for some reason, like the vehicle that checked all the boxes for me is still the one that's sold out and that you have no chance of getting brand new. And that is the 2021 Durango Hellcat, just because I've driven that one twice now. I've tested out launch control on private streets and on the track, and every time I put it pedal to the metal on that thing with launch control enabled, it just, like I said earlier, it was a gut punch, and you could hear all 4 tires screeching and scratching for traction, and it's just insane what they were able to do with that thing. And we don't have any tracks around here, so corners, they don't matter.
Right.
To your point on a previous podcast episode, it's a Texas sports car. It goes fast in a straight line, and that's all that really matters when you've got hours of open road ahead of you. So that would be perfect for acting a fool in and loading the kid up in the back and going on a road trip across Texas. So that one checked a lot of boxes for me.
Yeah, I'll say that's the one. As soon as I got home, my wife goes, "Well, how was my new car?" Referring to the Durango Hellcat. I was like, "Oh, I wish," but I don't think that's happening anytime soon. But
I don't think to Cory's point, you can't even get one.
Good point. Yeah,
it's interesting because I still see press loaners going out to people to review them for the first time, and it's all brand perception at this point. It's all the Hellcat, all the things that they're going after, because nobody's getting them if they haven't already got their name on the list.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's, to Dodge's point, what other car company says, you know what, the world's going green, electricity is the future, when you think about our footprint, and by the way, let's just put a Hellcat in it, and then everyone says, look, you've got CAFE standards. They go, don't worry, we bought all of Tesla's. So we're covered. We bought their CAFE standards so we can keep selling these maniac cars. God bless them, man. I think I've said for years, Dodge does cool better than anyone.
Yep.
And they'll do it at the sacrifice of anything to make sure it's still cool.
There's a great ad, and they've had some great marketing. You got to give Mopar
sure.
credit for their marketing. There was a great ad a few years ago when the Charger came out, and it's basically it storms past a bunch of other cars that look boring, and it goes through this tunnel, and you see that beautiful the taillights, that LED taillights outline of the Charger, and it basically the tagline is just Dodge, leader of the human resistance. And it just, I love that, especially in this age. It's still going on, especially in this age of ID4s, which I'm sure Matt was second. That was Matt's second favorite car was ID4, I'm sure. And we can talk about that more later. But yeah, it's so much fun. I love what they're doing.
It's funny to me that the Charger encapsulates 2 things. One, the Hellcat, right? Which we know what that stands for. It also stands for a law enforcement vehicle in many places.
Mm.
So when you see that taillight, you don't know if you're going to race the guy or just lock your cruise at 65 and take it easy.
Right?
It's hysterical.
So, Brian, what was your favorite leaving there? What have you been Googling and building and pricing?
I hate to admit a few things here.
Uh-oh.
Because look,
If you don't mention one of them, I'm going to call you out.
I know. Here's the deal. I love burnouts. It's my happy place. I've been doing it for years. I've kept stacks of tires in my garage on purpose. I've kind of gotten away from that recently. I still miss it. So the Hellcat was like an obvious choice to me. We both took out the Hellcat and the LC500 at the same time and then swapped on the route and came back. And I've got to say, that really impressed me. It was such a nice place to spend time in. And I've been looking at cars.com there for that more than anything else lately. In the used side of things.
I was going to say, that's quite a champagne budget you got there.
Oh, look, I'm on a Michelob at best budget over here, so it's not going to happen. But it's nice to know that they're coming down a little bit. I was, it's my first time driving that car, so I was really impressed with it. And I was impressed with Lexus in general. And Craig brought this up a lot that, if you didn't know better, you wouldn't think of Lexus as an enthusiast brand. You would think of them as the ES 300 and 350, the RX, whatever of yesteryear. And that's just not what you have in mind. And that day it was like, wait a minute, who are these people? Where have they been? Keep doing your work. I'm excited about this. So that was a high one for me as well. After that, and the Mopar family, I still like the Scat Pack, but I'll admit I've been looking at used Hellcats routinely for about 6 or 7 months now. So,
Yeah.
Well, to your point about Lexus, so on our previous week's episode, we interviewed the VP of events for the Texas Auto Riders, Tia Collier, and the thing that stuck with me from her interview, which was in between the day and a half of driving that we did, was to let go of any preconceived notions before getting in a vehicle. And we even drove the vehicle that she referenced on day 2 for us. She did not call it out by name. I will not call it out by name because I don't want to call her out on it. But totally unassuming. But getting in it, it was a everyday. It was a commuter. It was nothing, Hellcat powered or anything like that. But just to lay any preconceived notions at the door, just get in it and drive. And so the entire second day that we were there, the half day that we were there, that was the attitude that I was getting into vehicles, is like, all right, check anything I thought at the door and let's just drive. And I've been trying to apply that to more and more stuff for my life because I realize how much I'm doing it. And so it was refreshing to get out there the second day and experience maybe a different side that I was closing my mind off to before.
That's really good advice from Tia. And we've come across this realization in the last few months as well. That we'll walk into a review and we'll have this expectation bar at a certain place. And then the car lands somewhere else, right? And not that that's a problem, but it lands that way. And then we're either excited more than we should be or upset more than we maybe should be. Maybe we're equally upset like we should be on certain cars. Mazda 3.
And Brian's the one that gets upset, not me. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's true. But we call it taking your hater glasses off, right? Because you might walk into a car and you think you got it figured out or you got something you want to say about it already. The Vet was like this to me. I knew it was going to be great, the C8 Vet. And then I said, you know what? I drove it for 2 miles and in my neighborhood, and I lit it up a few times. I went, that was good, but not great. But I'm gonna wait. And then Craig took it from there for 3 or 4 days, and kept telling me all these great things. And I realized right then, okay, I've got to walk in to my stint with the car without any bias. I just need to drive it and let it talk to me and tell me how good or not good it is. And that's to your point, to Tia's point, that's the best thing we can do. Honestly, as journalists.
I think that's exactly the spot. Cory mentioned this before we jumped on air with you guys. That's exactly the spot that I was in on both sides of that coin, really, because we reviewed the Mazda CX-30 and the Mazda 3 Turbo. And
almost back to back.
Yeah, just about back to back. And they're essentially identical, right? The CX-30 is just a little bigger. But reviewing the 3, I loved it. It was great. It was fun. It was exciting. And then getting in the CX-30, I didn't like it nearly as much as I liked the other car that we were reviewing against it and or comparing it to. And so I don't know, maybe I'm too much in my head. I don't know. But
it's easy. It's easy to get there.
Yeah.
You get stuck in it. So, Craig, I know you're itching to say something here. This is
yeah. I've got it pulled up.
What's curious to me about the CX-30? What is? You have the window stickers?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the price difference between those two? By the way, I'm curious.
All right. So the Mazda 3 as tested, $35,415. The Mazda CX-30 as tested, $35,400. So
the same.
Okay.
$15 apart, and ironically, the Mazda 3 was cheaper.
Wow.
Or more expensive. Sorry.
So the interesting part of that is that there's about $15 more steel in the springs on the CX-30. So it's a little bit taller.
Is that what that
and
was?
There's some cladding, and that's it. They're the same.
Yep.
They're the same. And so they're both right now. The CX-30, that one was also turbo and all-wheel drive, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
So really comparable.
Yeah, both of them with the 2.5 liter turbo 4 with 227 horsepower and an astonishing 310 pound-feet of torque. I think that's
pretty good diesel. That's a good diesel number right there.
Yeah.
Here it's starting already.
I really shouldn't do this because it's. Let me be very clear. It's a great car.
Yeah.
I'm going to recommend it to everyone. It really is. It's just not what, again, expectations is not what I expect from Mazda.
right.
And Mazda's been, and to my credit, which Craig never wants to bring up, Mazda's been telling us for years that they are good driving cars.
Zoom, zoom.
The whole Zoom Zoom campaign. Craig's bought 2 of them in that time period. Brand new. And every time you drove a car that was Mazda, let's say from the mid 2000s up until just recently, they've always been the best driving in its class.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not the most powerful, maybe not the most refined, but the best driving. And so the last Mazda 3 I drove was a 2017, the previous gen, 2017, 2-liter, the small motor with a manual. And I was blown away at the whole cart and horse idea that Mazda has and that you're one with the machine. It just nailed it. It was a slow car, and every clutch input and shift lever input and tip in on a turn was magic. It was magic in a bottle. It was a slow car, and I loved everything about it. And then I got the new one, and so my expectation was already there. So this is my fault for having the hater glasses on, for not coming with an open mind. And I drove it, and I said, Craig, this feels a lot like that CX-9 we just had. And lo and behold, it basically is. It's just shortened down in terms of chassis. So what annoyed me about it was that for the same kind of money, you can get a CX-5 with the turbo and the all-wheel drive, which is now my expectation is different because it's a crossover, a full-on crossover. And I go, this drives pretty good for a crossover.
Right.
Not the best thing on the planet, but pretty good. And you get into what looks like a hot hatch. Here's Craig. Craig gets mad when I say this. When I see what looks like a hot hatch, I expect it to be at least a little fun or like more engaging, more fun. Not that it was terrible, but when it feels just like its cousins, I'm kind of going, what's going on? I'm really confused by it, and it messes me up a little bit. But that was my take on it. And the other part was the turbo was timed in a way and sized in a way that it's all about torque.
Yeah.
And the transmission wasn't quite sharp enough to make the best of it. Whereas, we bring this up all the time. The Kia Seltos is a cheap, all-drive, twin-clutch, smaller engine, and more fun to drive. It blows my mind because that is not trying to be a hot hatch, but it's a hoot to drive, and it just doesn't have any right to be that fun. Mazda's kind of abandoned that and gone to the nice car route, which it is. It's very nice, and it's really compelling when you compare it to Mercedes and BMW competitors. It's a huge bargain. So I needed to take that perception out and walk into it thinking Mercedes and BMW.
Well, what really upset us was the fact that it did not have the little green track sticker on it.
For sure.
Of all the vehicles that were there, that was the one we were most upset was not trackable for that day, because it is the one I think we all wanted to track the most, or both of us wanted to track the most, because we wanted to see what it could do. It's that whole Top Gear, James May, a vehicle's fun when you reach its limits, and we weren't reaching the Hellcats limits. We weren't reaching the Supra's limits. We weren't reaching the Fuji's limits or anything like that. So to find a vehicle at its purest, at its most fun, that is the car we figured we'd be able to do it best in. and lo and behold, it was street duty only for us.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I have a theory why it was that way. The brakes aren't great, and the cars gained a little bit of weight over previous generations, and they just wouldn't last. That's why we had 2-lap limits. They were trying to keep brakes from cooking, and we even heard. I'm sure y'all heard this too. Some of the cars had fresh brakes put on overnight because they didn't survive the first day.
I did see a pile of brakes, so I knew something was up.
Yeah. So so there's that. And the Mazda 3 it's not made for that. And Mazda's very clear. We're going the premium route. We're going the nice route. That's not where it should be. To your point, it would have been a blast. I think the Hyundai Venue would have been fun too, minus its transmission selection. It was a tossable, light, fun car. So that's kind of where my head was at on it. There was a lot of cars I wish could have gone on track. There's nothing better than, a Rolls Royce on track. I don't know why we couldn't do that, but that's just me.
Hey, we got to off-road the Cullinan, so I'm just saying it would not have been the worst thing in the world
That's true.
to track the Rolls Ghost, but it is what it is.
That was fun.
So, Craig, you alluded to it. Matt is dreading it across the table from me, but I have to bring it up only because while we were at the event, it was named World Car of the Year, and then coming home from the event, Tanner Faust dropped a bombshell on us
Baja.
of taking the ID4 to Baja. Like, what the crap is going on in the world? What is the world right now?
So
first 2020, now this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like I thought 2021 was getting better, and then Cory puts me behind the wheel of the ID4.
First thing.
Monday morning.
First of all, that's a bad friend. You just shouldn't do that to anybody.
I made up for it because the next rig we got in was the Hellcat Red Eye, but
okay, you
instant redemption.
Like a part of me felt broken, and I had to put it back together with some gasoline and supercharger wine or something, No, so I think I have whittled down after stewing on it for a week now. My issue with the ID4, and probably, although it's the only example of all electric vehicles that I've driven outside of a golf cart, it's probably going to be
different, by the way.
It's really not, yeah. But it's probably not going to be much different across the board because it is this. They're trying so hard to make something different when the way that it's going to sell is if it drives like a car, and it doesn't drive like a car. It drives like an EV.
Man, can I just jump in real quick?
Yeah.
I want to bounce off of that. So I hate to break it to you, but of the 2 full EVs we've reviewed, that one drove more car-like than the others. So,
and that's their whole marketing ploy behind it too.
Totally, yeah, and you can tell in the styling too, right? They didn't make it look totally stupid. It looks like a bigger Golf with some shape, which is good. Like, it's hard to disagree with the Golf. It's pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, Brian. You think the ID4 drove more like a car than the Mach-E?
Yeah, I do. I think it was a little more. The throttle tip-in tuning was less jerky, and I think the learning curve is going to be less for someone like our mom. She would get in it and just go.
I would disagree here and just have to call Brian out and just tell him he's wrong because the Mach-E drove to me more like a car, felt more like a car, it was more substantial, felt like a car. The ID4 I got out of, and I literally felt like what Matt said. It felt like a golf cart, with glass.
Okay, but I felt like the Mach-E was a golf cart too. In fact, I just couldn't get off that after driving it. And again, it's not that's. I mean, it kind of is, right? Like if you've ever driven a golf cart and you give it full throttle, at the bottom end, it wants to break your neck off, and then it just falls out of energy up top, right? And
Yep.
And we talked to Blink about this and some other EV people there. They don't have gearboxes. They're going to taper off in their power curve. It's just how it is. They've worked really hard with the Volkswagen to make it feel, like you're saying, Matt, a normal car. They forgot to make it feel fun. And that's what I'm concerned about, is that there's a big, a Golf GTI is a really balanced car that's a lot of fun, not the most extreme, very livable. I don't feel that in the ID4, and its reviews are reflecting that too. I don't think we're off base on that.
Yeah.
Well, except that it's World Car of the Year.
Yeah. They paid off someone somewhere.
Every pageant. Yeah.
I'm with you. I get the frustration, Matt, because the My frustration with those types of cars are like Volkswagen, they make good cars. They make the Golf, they make the Jetta, they make those are great cars.
Yeah.
And the switchgear works, everything makes sense. It's not confusing. But you get in the ID4, and now all of a sudden the same way to adjust the mirror or the window or something that should be really simple.
There aren't
now all of a
rear
sudden a
window
touchpad.
buttons. Like,
Right.
Why?
Why does it have to be so much harder?
Yeah.
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 I don't understand why they have to do that.
Yeah. The sunscreen on the sunroof was the most bizarre thing. You have to like swipe your thumb across it to make it close or swipe it back to open. I'm going, what is happening here?
Yeah. No. So
They're just trying to be too cute.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're adding in all these extra features, these extra, whiz bang whatevers to try and make it so much different, so much, more modern or whatever you want to call it. And we miss out on the driving portion of it completely. It's
right.
Yeah. So instead of making electric vehicles, let's make vehicles that are electric. That's my solution to the issue.
Oh man, there you go.
Look at that.
Hey
Right.
man, package that up. Make a shirt out of that, please.
I'll get on it as soon as I get back from Mexico.
Look, there you go. Look, in the world of Teslas, you can't make a car that's not at least quick, right? And we both, when we mashed the pedal in the ID4, Craig actually said, "No, floor." I said, "It is." Don't yell at me.
Hit the play button. Come on.
Right?
Yeah, hit the play button.
So what I ruined for my sales pitch to Matt to start leaning him towards the electric side of things, which I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. I do understand they serve a purpose moving forward, but by putting him in that first, I stood no chance at getting him in what I should have gotten him in to kind of tip him that way, which was the RAV4 Prime. Now, I have not driven one personally, but Redline Reviews has one as their permanent car, and he talks about it very lovingly. He talks about the acceleration in that being totally unexpected for what it is, and it was a missed opportunity for me. So, Greg, if you want to send a Toyota RAV4 Prime over here to Tyler, Texas, we'll be more than happy to give it a proper Garage Talk review.
So we got a chance to drive that one because we were told right off the bat by Greg, "Hey, don't sleep on the RAV4 Prime. It's the second fastest Toyota." We're like, "Wait, what?"
Wait, what?
So, do what?
No, yeah, I was with you. I was confused when you said that.
So we went out and we got it and we drove it, and it's unbelievable, Corey. You're right. You should have started Matt there and then slowly worked him up to something else, but because that's a good gateway electric car.
Yeah.
So
it was awesome. It was blowing tires off on acceleration, and we left giggling like children and said, "Look, it's prime time. This thing is awesome."
Oh yeah, it was ridiculous.
Have y'all built and priced one since getting home?
Well, that's
40.
ridiculous too.
40.
I had to ask.
Yeah, $40,000, $50,000 for a RAV4. That's I'm not there yet, so I don't think so.
Yeah.
So
it's still a RAV4 inside, which is not a bad place, but at $50K, it's kind of a lot to ask.
Yeah. I do have one question though. You said it's the second fastest Toyota there. Was the other one the Sienna? Because I remember there being a BMW Supra, but I don't,
Okay. No, it was the Supra.
Okay. All right.
We're not running out of gas on that, Joe.
The same Supra that you loved on track. That one.
Yeah, that one?
Same one.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
The brand confused sports car, as we refer to it over here.
I purposefully took a picture with my hand over the emblem of the engine just to have that picture.
Okay. Okay, so one thing we did get to do, and Brian is really mad at me for talking to these electric vehicle people for
Oh
an
boy,
hour.
here we go.
But
I don't think we've got the time for this.
Here's the thing. I'm not going to give you all an hour of it. But what I will say, and the reason I did it is frustrating. Look, as much as the four of us, we're all gearheads, and we want gas cars that make noise, right? It's coming. The electric world is coming.
Sure.
One of the things the guys said is, look, basically, here's what's happened. Manufacturers have just rolled over to the government because it's coming. There's no sense of fighting it. Tesla pushed it. They got there first. And now all the other manufacturers are playing catch up, and they got to do the same thing. And so it's just coming. Yeah. Whether or not we don't want to get in a debate about is it actually better for the environment or not, because, again, we don't have an hour for that. But
right.
Point is, it is coming for whatever reason. I also think manufacturers have realized, and they won't admit this, but this is just a Craig hot take. These views do not express the opinions of GT Garage Talk. But what I really think is happening is one of the reasons they've rolled over is they're like, wait a minute, it's a lot cheaper to manufacture an electric car than it is an internal combustion car or an ICE car, because there's so many more parts and suppliers you have to deal with.
Yeah,
with an ICE car versus an EV. And so I think that's another reason. It's just inevitable. It's coming. I don't think ICE cars will fully ever go away. There'll just be less and less percentage of them on the road.
So why are they so dadgum expensive then? If they're less to manufacture, why do they cost so much?
It's all in that battery tech.
The first one. It's the first one out. And so you think about, to your point, Matt, look, a Honda Accord has been out for a long time, and its engine is based on some predecessors, and have amortized that cost out by a bunch of people buying Honda Accords.
Yeah.
The production, the C8 syndrome of it competes with Ferrari, but they sell so many, they can amortize that cost and make it cheaper.
Sure.
They're just not there yet. And that's part of my problem too, is that we're paying by an early adopter, you're paying for some of that R&D on the front end. And I just want to clear the air. I'm not trying to hate on electric cars. I know it is a way forward, and I know that it's going to help the world in some ways. But it needs a gearbox to be fun, and that's the real challenge. Put a manual behind it, make it entertaining, or put a good ZF 8-speed behind it, and make that thing walk a Hellcat without even trying.
Yeah,
and just things like that, make it more fun. Also, before Craig gets buried in Blink talk over here, I want to go back, and I'm not trying to rag on the Blink guys. They were really informative, and they taught me a lot of things I didn't want to know, but now I do. And they have the recovery system, Craig. I don't know if you realize this. I was working on our edit for this last night. Their recovery vehicle that would come save your electric car if it ran out of fuel, if it ran out of energy, is powered by a gas generator, which is the funniest thing to me. And I'm sitting here and I'm going, I didn't even realize when we were talking to them. They didn't even touch on that at all. I thought it was just a giant battery back there. No, it's a gas generator.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a gas generator. Yeah. It's an ICE.
Goes back, it's an ICE, right. And so I get back to the same problem of, while that is the direction to go, and I'm not saying we should not go that direction at all, we need to be cognizant of where the energy is coming from in general. Yeah. And that's, we're going to take baby steps to get there, and it is going to be easier to build. It is going to be a better network. I'm excited for it. I'm waiting for it to be fun. That's all. I think we would all agree here that that's what's absent from the cars we've driven so far that are electric, but it's not quite fun yet.
So to that point of all agreeing on something, I would like to close us out with a segment on the dreaded, the loathsome, the rubber band CVT. For those unaware, continuously variable transmission. Yes, all the terrible sound effects. So I'll be honest. I've driven a lot of things, and somehow I have managed to escape the dreaded CVT until this event. And
that's impressive.
I know. And I will say the vehicle that introduced me to all of the downsides of the CVT, the terrible rubber bandy shift as you're trying to, accelerate and have a little fun, was a car I completely didn't expect it from, and just breaks my heart that it has a CVT in it, and that is the brand new Infiniti QX55. So we were told,
sneak attack.
I know, we were told while we were there, all of the praises of the QX55. I personally think it is a gorgeous car. I fell in love with the view over the hood, because all you see are those curves of the hood in front of you. Like, it is a stunning vehicle that harkens back to the FX 35 and 45 of my high school years that I thought too then were just astonishing vehicles. And then I put my foot down, and I hope that I have got the best angle of the reaction of my face as I saw and felt what was happening in and around us as we trudged on forward, because it was the most disappointing reaction to an otherwise very well-crafted car. And, Nissan is in the process of reinventing themselves. they've been sticking that 9-speed in all their new vehicles, and I just took for granted that the QX55 would have a 9-speed in it, and sure enough, we started Googling it before we ever parked the daggum thing, and yeah, it's got the
that's
CVT.
heartbreaking because it was a beauty. I mean, we unfortunately did not get to drive it. It just the timing didn't work out while we were there, but it was such a good look around. I kept thinking to myself, that's going to be the answer for a lot of people. It's going to be, like we said earlier, the Lexus RX 350 of a couple decades ago. That's the new one. That's going to be a really good thing for a lot of people. And I hate to admit it, most of those people will be fine with that transmission, which is the problem for gearheads. But I looked at that and thought that might be a fun thing to drive based on it's got some, it might have a little fire under its cap, might be a cool little rig. And I'm really sad to hear that.
Yeah, but it is my understanding that we all drove another disappointing CVT that we can all gang up on. And I don't want to throw too many punches their way, but, in a previous episode, I did mention how the Nissan Kicks is one of those vehicles that I'm wondering how on earth it is still in production, just because it checks no boxes for me. I will say in our review comparo of it, that car's not for me. It was never designed for me. It was never meant to be for me. And for that, I will give it a reprieve, a pass. But yeah, that was a disappointing car, to say the least.
I think we have to go back to what we talked about earlier and take the hater glasses off. And I agreed. None of us mashed the pedal on that thing and had a smile on our face. But I do think at the end of the day, the reason it exists is because they're selling a ton of them, unfortunately, like it or not. There's a reason we're not on their marketing teams or in their business rooms, like, making any decisions for them. Because people want a small, functional, compact, fuel-efficient, cheap car.
Yeah.
And that's what that is.
Yep.
And so did they hit their business points and their objectives? Yeah, unfortunately, it did for us. The good news is there are other crossovers out there that are good value that don't all have CVTs, and so there is some saving grace. But yeah, Seltos is the one to get. But yes, man, oh gosh, that was dreadful. I haven't been in a car in that long. I have to say. Okay, so we've already gotten the pass out of the way, right? But what happened is you mashed the pedal, a bunch of noise, a bunch of rubber band noise things, but there's no motion to move it forward. It's not going anywhere. Like, what's happening? And it's quite frustrating. So
yeah, I want our listeners to understand something. Nissan, and I will call them out on this, although it's not entirely their fault. Formula One actually outlawed CVTs because of how quick they were, and then they went to mass production, and people didn't know how to handle them. They, my car's not shifting. What do I do? It's not running right. When in fact, it's putting it in the most efficient location based on vehicle speed and throttle input and all these things. Right. And so now they said, well, we'll just throw all that out the window and go back to a shifting style, except it's still CVT. So you're just moving the rubber band up and down the same. It's not helpful at all. So a combination of Nissan and their engineering and programming of that transmission and the customers who don't know what they want have now made this awful thing that is the CVT and the Nissan vehicles.
No, Matt, you make a really good point. I tell Brian this all the time. Every time I get in a CVT, I remember the first one I ever got in was a Nissan Altima. It was a rental car. I went on a business trip. I mashed the pedal, and I thought what you're thinking, Matt. Yeah. I'd been reading about CVTs. I'm like, oh, great. It's going to keep me in the power band exactly where I need to be. It's continuously variable, right? It's exactly what we need. So and it starts doing these fake shifts.
Yep.
And I call Brian, and I go, Brian, what's wrong with the CVT? It's shifting. Why is it shifting? He goes, oh, it's fake. I go, what? But why? Because people think it needs to shift. I go, that's retarded.
Yeah.
That is putting the cart before the horse. That is the complete backwards way of engineering and designing things.
Well, I just want to defend the CVT for just a minute, and I can't believe I'm saying this right now. But
I almost did a spit take. So
I know. Someone's got to disagree, right? So on the kicks, while we've all kicked the kick pretty hard, it's CVT reminds me of the first generation of CVTs that weren't very good. And those happen to be the aforementioned Altima. That's what comes to mind to me.
Yeah.
The first gen Rogues and Altimas, it's like, what is this? Surely this can be done better. And others have swung at it and done better. And Nissan has gotten better. The most current Rogue is very agreeable. As a gearhead, I wasn't that annoyed with the CVT. Mm-hmm. And here's why. It was lying to me. It was faking gears, and I didn't get that rubber band effect. And so all the things that I complain about with the CVT, because of our preconceived notions that it needs to shift, it needs to have some kind of action happening and not just wail and drone. For some reason, CVT, but if I just drove it normally, I wouldn't notice it per se. And I think Subaru does the best job at this. They have their fake 8-speed CVT. And if you just drive it normally, it will shift quietly and smoothly in the background, and you will just think it's just a really smooth automatic. It's fine.
Yeah, no one
when you ring it out, it will show its ugly face a little bit, but it's one of the betters of the CVT world if you have to do it. All that being said, please just stick with gears. They just you know, our preconceived notions aren't totally wrong. We like them. They're more fun. So
I do want to say one more thing real quick on this CVT topic. I find it funny that we've talked about how CVTs originally didn't need the shift, but then we put in fake shifts because that's what people want. But then we get to electric cars, and one of our complaints is there's no shifts. Give us a shift, right?
Right.
So I find it funny that we have that different balance there. So
well, I will get to say, and this will be the last thing on the topic, was I got to put my smug face on as we were reviewing vehicles a little bit later on in the day because, you know, I'm GM fanboy over here, and Matt and I took out the Mazda CX-30, which is what I drove, and he drove out the Buick Encore GX ST, and then we swapped. And, you know, we didn't want to give too much away to the other one when we were swapping. And he was like, oh, you'll really like it. The transmission's really good. And that's about all he told me. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, 99% sure this thing has a CVT in it. And, you know, I start digging around, flipping through all the papers that they have in there. And, of course, you know, they've got the window stickers. And sure enough, it's got a little 3-cylinder engine and a CVT transmission. And I'm like, oh, this one's going to be fun. So you'll just have to go check out our review as I put on my smug face and reveal to Matt that he actually fell in love with the CVT while on our media drive event.
Oh, man. Was it lying to you? Was it shifting?
It was. And that's the cool thing.
Man.
So I didn't believe that it was a 1.3 liter. It had way too much power for it to be that small of a motor in that thing. And I didn't believe it was a CVT. It shifted well. It was butter smooth. I mean, you couldn't hardly feel. But I was also thinking, okay, this is a luxury-minded rig. They've done some, you know, finagling to make it shift well and smooth and all that so people don't pay attention to it. But it was fairly quick, and it was really nice. It was very well done.
And that just goes to show that it can be done, unfortunately, and they'll keep doing it and keep selling them. But the upside to CVTs that so everyone wants to complain about them, right? Oh, they're rubber bandy, they're not very fun, blah, blah, blah. The upside to a CVT, and this is the only one as a driver that I do appreciate, is in stop-and-go traffic, there's nothing smoother. Yeah. There's no 1-2 shift jolt. You know, different companies share automatic transmissions differently. Some are smooth, some are not. And CVTs never have a jolt, ever. Yeah. And so if you do live in stop-and-go, man, maybe it's the way to go. Maybe it's an option for you.
You know, it's even less jerky. An EV.
And on that note,
there you go.
Saying dirty words again, Craig.
Yes. So before we let y'all go and before we call it an evening, Matt and I do a special thing with all of our guests on our podcast, and it's just to get to know the people behind the rigs just a little bit more, and it's a segment Matt calls
Random Misfire. So this is a fun little yes or no, either or kind of question. And because there's 2 of you and 2 of us, even though all vehicles should come with 8 cylinders, we'll split it down the middle. Cory will ask Craig 4 questions, and I'll ask Brian 4 questions, and that'll make our 8, and we'll go from there. So we'll kind of swap back and forth. And like I said, Cory believes there is one wrong or one that you can get wrong. I tend to disagree with him, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So, Cory, do you want to start us off?
Well, that's just perfect segue into the one and only question with a wrong answer. And Craig, yes, you did draw the short straw, so let's see if you get it right.
It's going to be great.
Do you name your vehicles?
Of course I do.
See, he got it right. No worries right there.
Who doesn't
Yeah.
name their vehicles?
Crazy people.
Yeah.
If you don't name your vehicle, they're just going to break down on you.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. All right. You know what? That's probably the best argument that I've heard for that so far. Yeah.
I'm going to steal that.
Yeah, I like it. All right, Brian. We have none of us, or very few of us, have gotten to drive them yet. So this is kind of a brand biased question. But do you prefer the Wrangler or the Bronco?
Of course, you'd go with that.
Well,
question.
look, that's not even fair, but definitely Team Bronco.
Team Bronco, yes.
So that's all.
Totally.
That's marketing perception at this point, because the Bronco could come out and be a total piece of junk, which it probably won't.
Well, hang
It's
on,
got
hold
some
on.
good
Fighting
bones.
words.
It's got some
One-
bones. So
One, that's not going to happen.
Right.
Two, if you've driven a Ranger, you go, well, it can only be this bad,
right.
right? And so if that's the case, okay. But no, I take your point. Craig and I debate this constantly, and I love y'all's shirts you have, by the way.
Thank
Those
you.
just crack me up. Those are awesome. I actually had a deposit on a Bronco and pulled it last minute because of the production delays. It was just driving me nuts. So I guess today the answer is Jeep, and the end of summer we'll talk again.
All
Nice.
right. All right.
I like it.
So, speaking of shirts, segue, selfish plug here, but, going back to one of your podcast episodes and y'all ragging on sequential transmissions, automatic transmissions, we have got a new shirt design out. I actually wore it to the event that says Shift Happens, and it's got the famous PRNDL on it, but it does have the plus and minus, and yes, for good fun, I did put them backwards. So just jabbing a little fun as we lead into this very next question, which we all know the answer to, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Manual or automatic?
Oh, manual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
easy.
You should have asked CVT or EV.
Oh,
Oh boy,
That's what you should have asked.
I'm totally adding that
Your
one to the
answer.
list.
can I answer that one?
Yes.
Go for it.
Walking.
Good answer. Good answer.
All right. It is officially been added to the list moving forward. CVT or EV?
All right, Brian. Would you rather buy a car or build a car?
Oh man, if you asked me 3 years ago, I'd say build. But nowadays, with multiple jobs and multiple kids, definitely buy one.
Okay.
Yep. Can't fault you on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done the build. It's a blast. There's no time for it.
Yeah.
But I admire anyone that can pull it off for sure.
Absolutely.
I'm looking at the list here. There's a really good one that, he could, have shots fired at his brother, but I don't think he's gotten to drive the other ones. So I'm gonna skip
I mean,
that
you
one.
gave him a softball question the
What?
last
I
one.
really
so-
give him
did.
something hard.
I really thought, it would spark a little fun discussion, but okay. Let's see here. More tech or less tech, Mr. Blink EV?
Well, okay, so I may actually surprise you with this, but I don't think I'll surprise Brian. I'm actually a less tech guy in the car. I love all the tech. I love the screens. I love all the gadgets. I love the lane centering thing. When it's sometimes it's pretty convenient. Here's the only new tech I do like, and Cory, I know you'll appreciate this. I love the mood music or whatever scenes in the Hyundais. That
those are
is good
awesome.
tech because it's relaxing. I like that tech. All the other tech, don't need it.
Yeah, I picked up a Sorrento, and we were doing a review of it. We went camping with it, and to get in the camping mood, I put it on the sounds of nature, outdoor camping, whatever they call that one.
Yes.
And that was a nice, serene traveling experience. So.
So I put it on anytime we have one of those cars. The kids will get in, and I'll put on. I think it's the Rainforest, or I don't know which one it is. And you just hear birds chirping and the kind of sounds of the forest. And they just get so quiet. They calm down. I'm like, this is amazing.
It's the secret sauce we've always wanted.
Yeah.
There's another way to do that too. If you put the rain one on, Your wife will have to pee immediately. Just
for
so
me,
you know.
for me, that's a given anyway. So it was just,
Yeah.
Sorry, Holly, I love
But
you.
yeah, Cory, but yeah, most of the tech in the car is it really just is annoying, and I usually constantly find myself, how do I turn all this off? Brian gets mad at me because I don't even use the auto headlights on my truck,
Oh man.
and because I know when to turn the headlights on or off, I don't need it to tell me.
Good
Yeah, but
man.
Hang on, Craig's just
Absolutely.
an old man. Look, there's some conveniences that are there that are nice to feel a little luxurious, not worry about it. But I'm going to hijack this question and answer it too because I've got something to say about it.
Bring it on.
Craig likes to try the lane centering self-driving nonsense, and more than I do. And he's come around on me a little bit on this, but I'm going to stand by this. I've yet to meet a self-driving system that was more competent than I am at the time. And what I mean by that is there's always a scenario where, look, until I can really let go of the steering wheel and just take a nap, it's not a self-driving car, right? It's a helper. Nice to have it.
Now,
but it's
y'all
not a
had an
replacement.
Escalade for an extended period of time. What happened there? Did it not have Super Cruise?
It doesn't work over 100 miles an hour.
Oh.
And
So I didn't use it.
we'll just leave
Fail.
that there.
But it does a good burnout.
Yes. And Craig did that one too. You've done more burnouts than me lately. There's something wrong with this.
Uh-oh.
Did that make it into the review on your YouTube?
It did.
All right. So head on over to Brake Check Show, YouTube.
Yep.
Check that one out.
Awesome.
There you go.
All right. Favorite car movie, Brian?
Oh man, that's like picking your kids. It's just not, it's not right.
There are 9 wrong answers here. But,
yes!
Oh, wait a minute.
I would say 8, but yeah.
Shots fired. Too fast still counts. Come on.
I thought we were friends.
God, I'm gonna have to go with Bullet on this one.
Okay.
I knew it.
Yep. But number 2 is Ronin.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
All right. So last
What
question.
about Baby Driver?
Oh, that's
It's
that-
cool.
that
but,
one got a lot of
I don't know.
hype, like a lot of hipster
Okay.
hype.
There you go.
All right.
I walked in
Okay.
with the predisposed expectation and walked out with a little bit of disappointment.
All
Fair
right.
enough.
Last question for me to Craig, along the same vein. Favorite driving song or genre?
Oh, okay. I
This is
think
great
Brian
because
knows what
Craig
I'm going to
doesn't-
go with. But
Craig
there's
doesn't understand music, so this is great.
Oh,
This is true. So, yeah, speaking of 2, y'all both have worship backgrounds, it sounds like, or at least Matt does, right?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
correct? Okay, so, yeah, y'all understand sound, especially Matt, it sounds like. I admit I will put on Sounds of Nature or a podcast more than I will any song.
Okay.
So the correct answer, there's only one correct answer for driving music, and that's GT Garage Talk Podcast.
Oh,
Hey.
good man.
that
look
is
at
the
that.
most correct answer we've ever had to
Okay.
any question ever.
I think I've won the segment.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love it. All right, let's see.
Close us out, Matt.
Close us out. For Brian, there's too many good ones on here. All right. Do you prefer on-road or off-road driving?
Oh man, someone asked me this when we left the roundup the other day, and it's a really hard answer. I'm gonna go on road, and the reason why is because I just love tire smoke, and it's just harder to do that on rock.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It does, now that we've done the spring event for Texas Auto Riders and we've done the track day, it's got me salivating for some off-road adventures at the fall event and the Texas Truck Rodeo. And I hear it's going to be bigger, better, and better this year. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And I know Matt is because he didn't get to go last year. So we're definitely looking forward to another event, another chance to get to see y'all, if not before then. So it's a good time to be in this business.
Absolutely, and I hope we get to see you guys sooner. It's been a blast. Thanks for having us. And to your point, man, the truck rodeo is going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to that too because Craig also didn't make it this last time, so maybe we can all reunite there, the 4 of us.
Definitely.
Yeah, be fun.
Well, just for our listeners who maybe this is their first chance getting to listen to or hear from y'all, where is the best place to track y'all down?
I'm going to go ahead and let Brian do this because in every single one of our videos and podcasts, I butcher this horribly.
Yeah,
So
you
Brian,
get it
go
wrong
ahead.
every time. So it's very
Yeah.
simple. BrakeCheckShow.com. Everything is there.
Awesome.
And it's just like for us, gtgaragetalk.com. Everything is there. You know, it comes down to simplicity. Don't make it hard. Make it easy for people to find you. Everything for us, GT Garage Talk. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you can find us. So
Perfect.
thank you guys so much for coming on. It was great reliving this experience with y'all, and I do look forward to future collaborations, however and whatever form that may take.
Well, we appreciate it too. Thank you so much for inviting us on. It was a lot of fun, and we just love seeing the stuff y'all are putting out, and we're big fans as well. So thanks for having us on.
All right, Matt. You alluded to the fact that we could talk to them forever, so I'm very, very glad that you and I were both cognizantly watching the time and monitoring the conversation, because this could have been a 5-hour-long episode.
Yeah, it was
easy.
It was like 72 minutes or so of audio altogether. So
yes, thank you for sticking it out. I am sure that you have had fun listening to this conversation. And if you have, thank you for coming along and supporting us.
Definitely.
But you can go check out the guys over at Brake Check Show at brakecheckshow.com. Just
simple
like
as
us,
that.
keeping it very simple, you know, just it does not have to be complicated. But
Agreed, Volkswagen.
Yes. So, why don't you just hit that button, Matt?
You sure you want to do that?
I don't know.
Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. We thank you so much for coming and listening each and every week. We thank you for supporting. If you want to know more about what's going on with GT Garage Talk, you can find out all things at gtgaragetalk.com. And until next time, bye.